Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we have our next guest for the discourse on the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, which is going on today between Nigeria and Zimbabwe. We have Tony Ademodi, who is a sports analyst and a journalist to, put us through what is going on in Akwa Ibom State. Good evening, Tony.
Yeah, good evening. Feels good to be with you on the
Oh,
program this evening.
of course, it's always a pleasure. Today is the game. It was slated for 7 p.m., so it has already started. So far, what news have you gotten concerning this match today between Nigeria and Zimbabwe?
Well, the game has been played. Nigerians already have seen the results. The Super Eagles of Nigeria couldn't win against the Zimbabwe team. I think we all expected the Eagles to at least to have won, but football being what it is, just a thing of it for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Having dominated play, they actually took much position in the fixture. For everyone who saw that on TV would agree that the Eagles had a better share of the possession, but unfortunately they couldn't score the goals quite early. They had to wait up until the 74th minute for Victor Osimhen to open scores there for the Eagles. Osimhen scoring his 26th goal for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He's trying to chase the record set by Rashidi Yekini, who has got 37 goals for Nigeria in all competitions. Osimhen at his age, in his late 20s already, 26 goals. Maybe he could just be the next player to get to that record of Rashidi Yekini, or maybe wait for another player to come on board. But I think the most important thing is that the Eagles are not able to win today. A late goal scored by the Zimbabwe team in the 90th plus 1 minute shattered the hearts of most Nigerians, especially those who were live at the Nest of Champions in Rio to see that game. It's a tough one. Nigeria have played 6 games already, and we're having 7 points out of 6 matches. Not the kind of result we would have expected to see, but it's one of those things in football. Nigeria on the verge of not qualifying for the World Cup for the second time in a row. We missed the World Cup in 2022, and as it stands, we are on the verge of maybe not qualifying for the 2026 World Cup that will be hosted by USA, Canada, and Mexico. So it's a tough one. Nigerians are not happy. Reactions from the stadium today, wasn't just what Nigerians expected.
Mm.
Zimbabwe, I would give credit to them. They had the pressure, they will from home. I think they actually their game plan and hit the Spiders on the counter, got that equalizer. Even before they had scored that equalizer, a few minutes before they scored the equalizer, they actually had hit the woodwork, sending signals that they were able to actually get it. And finally paid off in the next plus 1 minute. They actually got that, equalizer. And Nigeria would have to, walk on a tightrope. The reality is that Nigeria on the verge of not qualifying for the Cup. Yes, some people will maybe say have about 3 games to go, 4 games to go.
Mm.
But the truth is, 7 points is difficult. And if you look at it, the other countries that you can look, you've got South Africa, who actually won today away from home. South Africa today plays against the Republic in a game that was played on the neutral ground in Ivory Coast. But the South Africans were able to score 2 goals, in that fixture. What it means is that South Africa now have 13 points and are almost through. In fact, I think they will definitely qualify for the World Cup the way it's going. 13 points they have. Nigeria have 7 points. So it means that you can see that we're working and more so that Nigeria would have to go to Johannesburg, sometime later this year to play against South Africa. We still have to go to Benin Republic. So we've got 2 away fixtures, which I think will be very difficult for Nigeria to scale through. Yes, as Nigerians, we want to say let us have hope. Nigerians want to believe that, okay, a miracle can happen. But the truth is, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have our destiny in our hands. We should have taken the first 3-4 games serious. I think we underrated the likes of Rwanda, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe, and we've paid, for it for not being clinical in front of goal in the first 3-4 games we played here. And it's a difficult one. I think Nigerians will just have to begin to believe that going to the World Cup in 2026 might just become a dream, because the way it's going, I tell you, it's be a very difficult, process for Nigeria to qualify for the World Cup. next year, 2026.
Okay, interesting. Um, Concerning the situation in South with the South African player who has two yellow cards to his name, and he was supposed to be suspended for at least one
Yeah.
game. And this particular situation, if the investigations pull through and he is guilty, do you think there's any chance for Nigeria to remain in the sport?
Well, that will be left for the arbitration for sports. The CAF will have to look at that. FIFA will also have to look at that. The regulatory bodies will have to look at that. And if yes, there's every likely opportunity that if South Africa is found guilty, then the points might be given to Lesotho, who might even have an advantage. For me, I think it may not really change anything, because if we had won today, if Nigeria had won today, then maybe we should be talking about we having 9 points. Then South Africa that won today, even if the 3 points is taken away from them, if eventually it will be taken off, if it's taken off, South Africa will still have 10 points. So you see that was still not close to where the South Africans are. Yes, it might give us a chance, but I think the team that will, or the country that will benefit more, because the point we take, if the point is taken off from South Africa, it will be given to Nigeria. It will be given to Lesotho. So you can see that it doesn't really have any effect. If we had won our game today, then I'm sure this is when we would have been talking about if the points are taken away from South Africa. So yes, South Africa, I think they actually assured that. How on earth would you feel the player who was yellow carded in your game? And the rule states clearly that a player cannot be booked and the player plays in the subsequent game. It doesn't happen, but somehow I think they actually shot themselves on the foot. That player you're talking about, Mokoena, he's one of their top players in the South African team. He plays for Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club in the PSL in South Africa. So you can understand why they actually fielded him in that game. But the rules are the rules. There are rules governing football. And I think if Lesotho have a good case, all they need to do is bring all the evidences to CAF, to FIFA, and I'm sure South Africa might, the rules are clearly stated, so South Africa might just be paying for it. But I think they also have done themselves a whole lot of favor, knowing fully well that if the points are taken away from them, they were able to win today. That victory against the Republic away from home, on a neutral ground, also gives South Africa a better chance, because even if those points are taken away, South Africa will come back to 10 points and they'll still be topping the group, at least for now.
Okay. Let's talk about preparedness. The Super Eagles' preparedness towards this World Cup qualifiers. We had an interview yesterday, and the analyst talked about, not being so punctual for trainings and even arrivals. That the previous game that they had, some persons arrived yesterday, some arrived today. Thereby, they didn't get to train together. Some people trained, for a shorter period of time, and some trained for longer. Do you think the inadequacy of the Super Eagles, being prompt, preparing, maybe not being so confident, would have resulted in this, in the result of tonight's game?
Well, yes, that could be debatable. Yes, you talk about early preparation, being coordinated, being serious with the game plan. I think for the first time in a long while, the Eagles, the camp opened, even before we played against Rwanda, the camp opened on a Sunday, and by Wednesday, last week, 3 days after, the players have all arrived in camp. Before now, it's always an issue of players strolling into the team. Some arrive late with a couple of excuses here and there, delay of flights and all that. But under Eric Shell's leadership as Super Eagles coach, we did see the players come on, arrive the country on time. That is for the players who ply their trade outside the shores of the country. So we did see them arrive on time. For me, I wouldn't use that as an excuse, because the players arrived with the same set of players were those who prosecuted the game against Rwanda. That was on Friday, just a few days ago. Mm-hmm. And they traveled, via a chartered flight from Kigali straight up to Yo. So they had enough time. They got to Yo by Saturday morning. They were already in Yo. So they had time to rest. And today is just, Tuesday. So I think it was just not being prolific in front of goal. If you take your mind back to that game we played today, We had like 2-3 opportunities. Samuel Chukwueze, one of the suspect today, he should have converted his chance, the chance that came his way. Alex Iwobi had a glorious opportunity to have scored into an empty net. He failed to do that. And we all know that football is a game of opportunities. If you don't take the opportunity when it comes your way, definitely your opponent is going to take it. So I think that's what the Zimbabwe team did. We failed to take our opportunity in the game today, and it came back to haunt us. So I wouldn't want to attribute our loss or the draw today against Zimbabwe to the fact that the players did not practice. No, these players are playing together, and to even make it worse, these are professional footballers. They play almost week in, week out for their respective clubs in Europe. So some of them only came back to the country 2-3 days after they had played a league match for their respective clubs. So it means that a couple of them, were match fit. So I wouldn't say that it was them arriving, they are late and all that would make them not to, get the desired result. It was just a bad day in office. I think the Eagles gave everything they needed to do, but their undoing today, in today's game, was that they couldn't take the chances that came their way. Knowing the importance of this, knowing that over 180 or 200 million Nigerians, had hopes on them. Yet again, they failed to, fly like an eagle in the game today in Rio. So it's just the reality of it. No matter how painful it is, the reality bites, and it shows that Nigeria would have to reorganize the whole football system. It's not just about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Yes, everybody's talking about the FIFA World Cup qualification, yes, but then we should ask questions beyond just what is happening with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Let's also look at the other national teams. Let's talk about the under-23. Let's talk about the Flying Eagles, Golden Eagles. What has been their record? What has been the success stories recorded in the last 1 year? These are things we need to look at. So it's like a ripple effect. It's kind of affecting everything. Football development in Nigeria needs to get better. We need to understand that we need to hold people responsible. Those are not getting the job done. Administratively, are we getting it right? I think these are questions we need to ask. Everybody is focusing on the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Yes, the Eagles remain the biggest, football team in Africa at this point. But then we should also look beyond what's happening with the Super Eagles of Nigeria and try to look at what is happening generally with our national team. We are not really doing well when it comes to major tournaments like this and qualifying for major tournaments. You can take away the under-17, the Golden Eaglets, and maybe the Flying Eagles. I think, and maybe the Falconets for the ladies, or the women, the Falconets and the Flamingos. I think it's not been that rosy. I just said it here some minutes ago. We missed out on the 2022 edition of the World Cup. The World Cup is being hosted every 4 years, and it will be disastrous, and it's going to go into the history books that for the second time we're missing out on 2 World Cup back-to-back. So the next World Cup will be hosted in 2030. It means the bulk of the players who are playing for the Super Eagles of Nigeria today may not have the luxury or the opportunity of featuring in the next World Cup in the year 2030. So that's how important playing at the World Cup is.
Okay, Mr. Tony, let's bring it back home. Talking about Nigerians, how do you think Nigerians are going to perceive this possibility of Super Eagles not qualifying for the 2026 World Cup?
No, the truth is, it's a tough one. Nigerians are not happy. Of course, Nigerians, maybe not all, but I'm very sure that majority of Nigerians, Nigeria is a football-loving country. We love football so much in this part of the continent. We support football. That's why we see a pick out. You see Nigerians watching football on their plastic screen. Some go to the stadium. People just love the round leather game of football. So it's going to be a disappointment. And yes, some people may want to disagree with me, but truth is, yes, we are Nigerians. We want to sound patriotic, but reality bites. It will only take a miracle for Nigeria to qualify for the World Cup. We have just how many games to go? 4 games to go. How are we going to do it? And 2 of those games I said here are 2 away games. Even if we win the next 2 games and maybe have, maybe we'll have 12 points or 13 points. That is if we win. What about the other countries? You would expect South Africa to also win theirs. You would expect Rwanda to also maybe win theirs. So, and the thing here is that out of this group, only one country would qualify from every group. So the country that finishes top of the group will qualify. So imagine if South Africa finishes top of the group, which I think they will likely finish on top of the group. They look like the country that will qualify from the group that we are. So the other country that finishes as runners-up will be forced into a playoff series, which it's very dicey. You're not even sure of it. If you're playing in a playoff, it's going to take you a whole lot of time, to qualify. So I think the best to be if we had, taken our chances when it did come. And sometimes this might also have an economic effect because at the World Cup, this is where, countries, the major countries gather. Everybody wants to be at the World Cup. Nigerians will not want to miss this, but it's likely we're going to miss it. The last time we went to the World Cup was in 2018. That's how many years ago? So it means we might not be at the World Cup in Canada, USA, and Mexico. And this is the first time ever the FIFA World Cup will be hosted by 3 countries. We've had to host it previously. We did see Japan do it in 2002. A couple of countries have done it before. But this will be the first time FIFA, 3 countries co-hosting the FIFA World Cup. So there's a whole lot of history, and statistics that, we should have gotten. But it's unfortunate that Nigeria are actually working on the title now. And I can feel the pain of many Nigerians who also look forward to having the flag of Nigeria being hoisted, in Canada, Mexico, and maybe United States of America.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tony, for this insight. For further developments, if any, we'll reach out to you to have another comprehensive discourse on it.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.